how far can I take it to see like, wow, that's Jack if he does everything right. If he turns up right, he makes all the right moves and he never quits. That's who I can be. And also what scares me is to think if someone might show me the version of me I could have become and I never became it.
This is the Portal Podcast, a place where time and space don't exist. And today I get to sit down with the man who has stepped in to this portal and has created the life and reality that he desired. The cowboy, the operator, my brother, Jack Hopkins.
What's up, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. You made a long trip to get here.
Yeah, I sure did.
Over from the States, now sitting in Dubai.
Yeah, living that king lifestyle.
100%.
It's a pretty great city. I would say.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, so Jack, man, you've become undeniable. You've built the influence, you've built the empire, the brand, the physique. But I want you to take us back to that boy in England, bro, or the UK. Take us back to the lost boy who was, unsure with his life, had no direction, kind of just mediocre. Tell us about him.
Yeah, when I first started my journey, I was based in the UK and I'd just finished school, and throughout school I'd been pretty much an athlete. From very young I'd had a lot of desire to win. I'd got into self-improvement around 13, 14 years old, just reading books and going to the gym around 14 years old. And got my first girlfriend, was growing up well, had a pretty good family, and a very good family. And got to 18 years old and was just a little bit lost because I started to experiment with partying, drugs and alcohol. And I didn't realise the effect that had on the brain of a young man. I'd always known I'd had barely drank up to 18. I'd always been an athlete and I'd spent a lot of time in the gym and I had a good physique. When I got to 18, I started experimenting with that stuff, and no one had ever really described to me that this is going to make you feel bad afterwards. I knew it was a bad thing to do. I didn't really know why. I thought it was more my physical health. I didn't understand my mental health. So I kind of started experimenting with that stuff the summer I got out of school, and it ended up messing my mind up to making me very confused. When I got out of school, I thought, you know what, I don't want to go to university. I want to be an actor. That's what I originally thought. I want to be on TV. I'd done some commercials. I'd done some small TV roles as I was growing up. I'd lived in the States for a bit and done some TV there when I was a kid. And I wanted to do that. But then I went and partied all summer. I had a sales job. I saved up my money, went on like 3 different lads' holidays when the boys go away together, and did all my experimenting with narcotics and various things. And then I got back and then I felt really lost. I didn't realise that was a come down. That's what happens when you mess around with that stuff. So my mind was all thrown off. I was having a come down, and I decided, because I was lost, my mum didn't know what to do with me. She was like, why do you feel so lost? Like, you knew what you wanted to do. So she enrolled me in university, and I shipped off to university, which was just such a terrible idea, because for me that then put me in an environment where all people were doing was drinking, partying. And that's what I got wrapped up in. And over time, if you do that enough, if you drink enough, you find it very difficult to get happiness from anything else. You get more and more lost, and you lose more and more of your motivation. So I ended up in a bit of a black hole for a while in a place called Bournemouth, England, where I was hanging out with the wrong characters, doing the wrong things. And it all came down to a moment where I destroyed my mind so much that my mind was so damaged. I was so anxious that I couldn't leave the house. I was having panic attacks, which I was first time experiencing that. I didn't know what this was. And I thought, wow, this isn't a glamorous life. This isn't fun. None of this is fun. I can't remember much of the last few years anyway. I haven't built anything. I'm not proud of myself. I'm in a bad situation with my parents. They don't admire me. My younger brothers don't admire me. My friends barely like me because I was so temperamental. I was so unstable. So I decided everything had to change. I decided that I couldn't go on like this. So I cut cold turkey on alcohol after being a heavy drinker, at least a bottle of wine every night for over a year. And that was just a light, that'll get you off to sleep. That was kind of set you going, like 1 bottle of wine and often a lot more. And so I quit that, and I had a terrible couple of weeks of withdrawals and sorting my mind out. And then I started to piece my life back together. I got into a better sales job. I moved out of the house that I was in, sort of like a bit of a crack house that I was living in. Not that anyone was doing any crack, it's just the kind of place it was. Just smoking a lot of weed in there most of the time. And so I left there and I got my own space, and I got a job in sales. It was really, really hard. I had a lot of sales training. I was struggling with my mind, but it helped build my confidence. And I signed up for my first fight. And I delivered on something that I said I was going to do rather than let myself down. Once I let go of alcohol and the other things I was doing, I had more consistency, more motivation. And I actually managed to turn up time after time to the fight gym, time after time to work without being late, which is not great because I was late today to this podcast, but I wasn't late for my job. I turned up there and I got a little bit of money saved, and then I won this fight. I won an MMA fight, which is on YouTube. If you look it up, Jack Hopkins MMA. I won that fight, and that was a big turning point in my life because I finally was like, okay, you've had a few years out the game, but you've rediscovered that fire of being an athlete. You've rediscovered what you enjoy to do, which is improve yourself and self-development. And you've discovered one big lesson that most people never discover. And that's that alcohol, drugs, and the party lifestyle is never going to give you the fulfillment that you want. Not to say I haven't re-indulged and had to learn this lesson time since. I have. But that was the big turning point. I was sober for about 6 months then. And at that point, my life started to come together. And I started to save my money. And then I felt trapped again. I felt like I was now trapped more in my life was very dull now. It was like, I didn't sign up for another fight, so I kind of drank a little bit again on the weekends. Then I was going into my work every day and no longer enjoying it because it was no longer exciting to me. And I had the brain space to start thinking I want more from my life. I was now no longer in survival mode. I'm bored mode. I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. And it was at that point where I started to discover through podcasts such as this one, just listening to people in their story, I discovered something called personal brand. I discovered a guy that had gone away to Bali to change his life after a very similar story. He'd been sort of down and out with drugs and alcohol, and then he just turned it around and started posting online. I thought, wow, that's something I'd like to do because I like the acting. And so I picked up the camera and I started posting my life. I started posting my Instagram stories every day. I bought my first course, which was about posting on Instagram stories, the first time I'd ever bought an online info product. And I started to build this plan and this dream and this vision of myself in the future that was no longer this guy. That I wanted to become the heroes I'd admired when I was a younger kid. And so I created this vision of myself. I saved up my money, and part of this vision was moving to become a new person. It often really helps to move location, to have a big shift where everything gets wiped away and you can start fresh, and that's what I needed, and I did that in Thailand. And that's where most people follow on with my story. That's where most people picked me up. That's the sort of insight of before what my life was like. Then I got to Thailand and I was more dialed in, and I've had my problems, my ups and downs even since then, about 3 years ago. But I started to crack personal brand. And I started to be able to make money online from anywhere in the world. And I made it doing something that I actually love to do, which is teaching, inspiring other people, becoming the best version of myself. So that's a little insight into kind of who I was before all of this.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. And you mentioned something very important. You making that move to Thailand. What flipped the switch? What made you leave the comfort of your home, your family, your friends, pretty much everything you ever knew, just to make this type of move?
I've always been driven towards that stuff. So for me, ever since I was 13, 14 years old, I thought, I want to live on my own. I want to go and do my own thing. I felt old in my mind very young. Even though I didn't know how to manage my mind yet, I always felt quite mature. I was like, I want to go out and explore. I want to see everything there is to do. I want to go and do things. I want to make money, all that sort of stuff. And so the leaving for me was actually not... It was scary, but for me, most of that fear was excitement. I remember a pivotal point where I nearly didn't go. And you have to be careful of this when you're looking to change your reality. If I tell the story in full, I basically left my job. Then I moved back home with my parents. So I let go of my apartment and the girlfriend I had. I moved back home with my parents, and I started to see my parents again, who were proud of me now because I wasn't drinking. I was trying something new. I'd saved some money. I was supporting myself. they were quite happy with me. We got on well. It was nice to reconnect with them. I was living with them for a bit. Then I saw all my old friends from school, and I quite enjoyed that. And I would go out with them, but I didn't drink at that time. And I would have fun with them. And I met girls, and I started to meet a girl and see her a little bit. And there was this turning point in my head where I'd suddenly become quite comfortable with this new reality. And I thought, oh, this I'm enjoying myself again. This is kind of new and exciting as well. Maybe I don't need to go to Thailand. And I got my dad to thank for this, because I said that to him. I said, oh, Dad, do you think it's a good idea? I'm kind of enjoying myself here now. And my dad very easily could have gone, yeah, to be honest, I'm glad you've seen the light, like stay here, build something here and stay around the house. He could have said that. He didn't say that. My dad said, look, you're never, ever going to regret going there for 6 months or even 1 month. And if you don't like it, you can just come home. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And he said, yeah, go and get on that flight and go and do the thing you said you were going to do. And then if you don't like it, if it doesn't work out, if you run out of money, come back home. And that was the kind of hand and support that I needed to be able to take the risk, which I was very lucky to have, which was like, okay, I've got someone in my corner that believes I can do it. And also, I've now got no risk, because my dad said I can come back here, and I'm not burning any bridges with him or with my mother. And so that is what really encouraged me to go. And then I went on that journey, and the rest is history. So it was, that's kind of, it seemed like it was a difficult thing to do, but for me, I was more privileged than most in the support I had around me.
That's incredible, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Earlier you mentioned you had a whole bunch of like doubts and fears, and I want to know if you could let us know, like, what were those doubts and fears, the challenges, the obstacles that you had moving to Thailand on a dream to now living in Dubai in your vision?
Yeah, when I first started, the doubts, I thought, is it safe there? And will I make any friends there? I don't know anyone there. How do you rent a house there? How do you get food there? I have a severe peanut allergy. And all over the internet, like Thai dishes is famous for peanuts. That was actually a very big fear for me. I was like, how do I deal with that? Like, what am I going to eat there? Is it the same food as the UK? What if it's got nuts in and I can't speak the language, they don't tell me? So I started breaking these things down, and I spoke to my mum about it, and we printed out this piece of paper that said in Thai, I have a severe nut allergy, do not give me nuts, it will kill me, in Thai language. I had that in my wallet. And I had doubts, I had severe doubts at the start that I would be able to make money doing it. But a little bit of that had, able to make enough money, but I still had belief. That was just kind of one of my fears, was that I didn't want the embarrassment of having to come home. And actually when I moved, I thought to myself, to be honest, now I've done it, I'm not coming home until I'm successful. I'm not coming back until I somehow make this work, no matter how long it takes.
Burn the boats.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, to be honest, I know the option's there, but I'm going, and once I got there, I got taken on by the excitement of it all. I was still very scared. It was still very nerve-wracking when I got there, not understanding the place. And then within a month, I'd become... I think I probably experienced a year's worth of growth in a month, trying to figure things out for myself in a new country. Mm-hmm. I had to figure out how to get an apartment, where I was going to live, how to try and speak a different language, how to communicate with people, making new friends all over again, trying to figure out my place in the world. And that just gave me a year's worth of growth in a month. And people started to notice that, because I documented everything, because I told everyone everything, I posted everything. And I did that, and... people started to see that change, and that was very pivotal for me to have that change in environment, because it increases your growth speed.
I got you. So from that point on, all the way up until now, living the vision, man, what other obstacles can you let us know that, like, man, I don't know if I got this in me, I don't know if I can actually do this, pull this off?
Yeah, so my journey went from, and content's very much like this, you have your peaks and your troughs, and things go up and down, and you're not always growing, you're not always relevant, people don't always care about what you say, and you can be very, very hot for a second, and everyone wants to buy your things, and everybody wants to podcast you, and everyone likes you, and then something might happen, no one really knows about you anymore. And I had to learn to navigate that over the past 3 years and build in some consistency to my system, to how do we actually run a business out of this? How do we make it a set formula? And we've kind of started to crack the code on that, but it's taken a long time. A lot of months of great business and down and up and down, managing having more money and more attention and more status, and how to not let that corrupt you. And I had times of enjoying Thailand, having money in Thailand. You make 10 grand a month in Thailand, you're pretty rich. There's not much you can't do. You make 100 grand a month for Thailand, which is somewhere I got to. You're pretty much king. It's unlimited. There's nothing you really can't get. And so I got to that point and was living this bachelor life and this king life, and enjoyed it and wouldn't take it back, but had to realize that the work was not finished, that there needed to be a bigger goal, that although 100 grand's a lot of money, you have to make it next month and the month after that and the month after that to live this lifestyle. And it doesn't last forever. And you need to have a plan, somewhere to go, something to build. And you need to feel good about what you deliver on. You need to constantly improve what you deliver on. And so I had to learn all those lessons. I had to learn business from the ground up. I had to learn how to manage money from the ground up, how to start to manage a team. One very important point that was an obstacle I had to overcome was going from the solopreneur that had gone out to Thailand, taking everything on my shoulders, to learning to share responsibility and not get angry at other people if they didn't do it exactly the same way that I wanted it done. And I had to learn that other people can actually do things better than you. And that we all really have, if we are entrepreneurs, we have kind of one or two things that we should really be focusing on. For me, that's content, my own self-improvement, my journey, becoming the best version, and any coaching I do. Everything else should be delegated, and other people are actually really good at doing those things. And there was a long time where I was stuck, stagnant around 15 to 20 grand a month, pulling my hair out, thinking I can't do all of this, but still too scared to share the burden with anybody. And over time, I've become a better boss to the people around me, and I've learnt to enjoy the game a lot more. I've been through so many things, like bank closures, for example. Like the first time your bank gets shut down, they hold all your money, or your payment processor gets held. Like we did a big drop. I remember one of our first ever products. It was the first iteration of the new Elite, which you're in, our Brotherhood network. The first time we ever dropped that, we got, I think it was 30 or 40 members that joined us on the day. And at the time, for those first 30 or 40 members, this is 3 years ago now, I think it was $500 to join. And all of that money, which we really needed, got held in our Stripe processor, and they wouldn't pay it out into our bank because it was a new Stripe account for this new business. Yeah. We didn't realize you could just add a new product to our already working Stripe. We made a whole new Stripe and tried to put it all through there. And then so we're there with, even though we've done fairly well, we've got a load of money in the bank. We couldn't get to it. And I remember at the time, that stressed me out so much. I pulled my hair out. Now things like that happen, and you've learned to deal with them. Every single obstacle that you get on the journey, as you overcome it, you become like a little bit stronger, a little bit more aware. And that's just happened to me over and over again from seeking challenge on that journey. And then it got to a point where Thailand was comfortable. Thailand became too comfortable, too good. And I wanted to be the best I could be. I want to be the best version of me. I want to see how far I can take it. I don't want to be a small micro sort of niche influencer. I want to see how many lives I can change, what I can do and who I can become. And so the next logical step for me was Dubai, if you wanted to do that. And we came here, and that was uncomfortable at the start. And now we've adapted to that. And that's kind of how life goes, from very small starts to as big as you can imagine, just compounding motivation over time and putting the work in.
Yeah, 100%. But before we go any further, Jack, I want to point something out that's very important. I remember a time where you would rehearse your days, the Dream Life Protocol.
Yes.
Can you go deeper into that, bro?
Absolutely. So when I was first coming up with my vision for how I wanted my life to look, I wrote this vision down, and I used this Dream Life Protocol, which is writing the dream day in perfect clarity. So you know where you wake up, the bed sheets, the smell of the room, the view out the window, the woman next to you, the shower, the soap that you use, everything. Like you build it in your mind's eye. What kind of person are you when you wake up? How do you look? How is your reality? And what do you want to spend doing on the perfect day? Now, there's a few rules of the perfect day. The perfect day is not a degenerate day. The perfect day is not like a birthday. The perfect day is a day you can do every day. You will enjoy it, and you'll also get better and be more productive and improve your life. So you imagine, what would I do every day if I've already done all the partying and got bored of that? I've already bought all the shit I want. I've done all of that. What do I then spend my time doing? Which is the question that every man gets faced with when he has amassed any sort of money and has taken care of his base desires. He gets tasked with the question, okay, is this it? What do I do now? And so what you do from the start is you build a dream that, man, I actually enjoy doing this. No matter how much money I had, I'd still come back and do this every day. And for me, that was wake up in an amazing villa in Thailand with some of my friends working for me, making YouTube content, going out to the gym, having a great workout, hitting the beach, paying for dinner in the evening. And that was my dream day. And I'd came up with it in the UK. Within a year, I had achieved it. I'd achieved the villa. I'd achieved the money I was making. I'd achieved the truck on the driveway. Everything had become, in perfect clarity, my vision. And then once you've achieved that vision, you create a new vision for your life. And I would read it every day and I would rewrite it. So I'd write it word for word and copy it from the A4 page before and rewrite it. And then I would visualize it and then I would continue my day. It'd be like a 10-minute task in the morning. And it really helped me because once the mind knows where it's going, when you have the destination on the map, your reticular activating system in your mind starts to point out to you which things you need to do. It's like when we think about and get obsessed with maybe a car that we like, we start to see it driving around all the time.
The red car theory.
Exactly. The red car theory. And that happens with everything. And your mind is designed to give you what you want if you simply know how to use it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I teach. And I'm glad that you mentioned that.
That's awesome.
The power of visualization, belief, gratitude, it all comes together. And obviously, vibration, frequency, it all aligns and creates the synchronicities, the habits, the synchronicities, peoples, plots, places, and things. And my next question for you, Jack, is you obviously know about the laws of the universe.
Yeah.
And so in your own words, man, what can you describe the laws of the universe and how you've applied them into your own life?
I first came across sort of these laws of the universe, laws of attraction very young, and then I kind of continue my education with a book called Reality Transurfing, which is by a Soviet ex-quantum physicist, I believe, Vlad something. And I read that book for the first time and didn't understand it. And then I listened to the audio book, and the audio book kind of helped me understand it. And I just started to implement small parts of how to live your daily life to essentially live on a successful plane of reality. So in this book, there's the concept that there's multiple planes of reality. And depending on our feelings, vibrations, how we conduct ourselves, depends on which plane of reality we end up on. If I came into this room, I was abusive to Raph, I was in a bad mood, my plane of reality that I end up going off on from being that person simply from my own vibration and actions is vastly different to if I come on here in a high vibration and as a positive person. And it's understanding that you choose this plane every single day. And if you can learn to choose the correct plane, the most successful plane through your vibration, through a couple of tips like riding the wave of success, which essentially means when you have a success, you enjoy it, you cherish it, and you expect it. And you kind of, when you have losses, you ignore them and you don't let them affect you. Good and bad is what the mind decides. It doesn't exist. Reality just goes on. But we add importance and meaning and suffering to everything. And if you can learn to control that, and the bad things, you take them as lessons, and the good things you enjoy and let them give you confidence, you can stay at that high plane. And that's a job that you try and do every day. And there's other things like you learn about excess importance, which is when most people believe at the start of their self-improvement journey, they have to really want something They have to obsess over it. They think about it every day, and they don't let themselves be happy until they've achieved it. Now, you can see already why there's a fundamental issue with that, because in order to get the most successful reality, you have to be on a high vibrational plane of success in your mind already. Whereas most people put themselves in this desperate plane of success. They're desperate for something. They feel they don't have it. They feel an utter lack in their lives, and they won't be happy until they get it. And surprise, surprise, they never get it, and they end up with huge inner turmoil that's just created by themselves. Whereas you could have lived on the successful plane, and you would have realized once you'd achieved the success that living on the successful plane was the success in the first place. That we all are just driving towards a new way of feeling. We all just want to feel like we do on our best days all the time.
Yeah.
And we believe that if I have $1 million, if I look amazing, and if I drive a Ferrari and have all these accolades, then I'll feel like that every day. And although, and what you realize through getting those things is that you didn't actually need the things to feel that way. You needed the actions daily, and the mindset daily, and the self-belief, and the courage and sort of admiration of yourself, the love of yourself to feel that way. And the things are actually just trophies. It's how we just signal to other people that we've achieved things. But they don't. You can be a very sad person in a Ferrari, and you can be a very happy person in your standard Toyota. You can be a very happy, and really your life experience depends on your ability to control your mind.
Yeah, 100%. Something I want to point out that's very important is you mentioned people operating from this level, but they want this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in our reality, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So you could want this, but if you're not operating at this level, you're just not going to get it. Simple as that. Just like Jack said, surprise, surprise. You're surprised you're not getting it, but in all reality, you have to become whatever you want. And that goes for anything. And something else that I want to point out, Jack, is you wouldn't be in Dubai, you wouldn't be the millionaire that you are today if you hadn't made that choice to go to Thailand. I mean, you may have maybe ended up at this spot, but it would have been a lot differently, because life is like a timeline, bro. It's a film strip based off of our decisions. If you really think about it, there's different, I guess you would call it a multiverse. So kind of like reality transurfing. You're transurfing through different film strips. And something I want to point out to the people listening, your choices and your habits will align to that desired reality, whether that being, let's say, you do want the success or the freedom. If you align your habits and your actions and your thoughts to that timeline and you do it consistently enough, you will ultimately get there no matter what. Versus if you're operating from lack, scarcity, fear, you're going to get the opposite. You're going to stay on to that timeline. So it's crazy because you can simply adjust your reality where you end up being just based off of your thoughts and actions.
Yeah, absolutely. It has a big impact on just the way you go through the world and the way you see things, which just has this big knock-on effect. And I've done both. I've seen how habits affect your reality. I've destroyed my own reality and rebuilt my own reality many times. That's normally what we do as humans, is we kind of break through to a new level of success we've never experienced. And we are uncomfortable with that person and that success, actually. We are actually, most people sabotage themselves, nearly everyone, especially me. And then you come down here somewhere, and the pain gets so great again, and you realize how far you've fallen, that you're like, something has to change, and you build your discipline again, and things go up, and maybe you get a little bit higher this time. And normally it's like hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. And then you become this strong, good man, but your times become easy, you lose your discipline, your focus, your motivation, you end up down here back in pain. What we want to try and do is double down when we get to the peak of this cliff, where we need some new challenge that makes life hard again, that makes us excited to work, so we can start to do this. Or we can do a more steady line of this, rather than this. Most people live in this line, and they never end up going up. But the way to go up is to find out, like when you've done your first 10K month, rather than celebrate it by going and splashing it all at the club and buying bottles and thinking you're the man, you have a look at that and you think the work's not done. You have a bigger vision, a longer goal for your life. You start to think in years or decades rather than thinking in months and weeks. And it helps you stay consistent.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out. And speaking of growth, Jack, you've obviously taken self-improvement to the whole next level. You've taken it to the extreme. I would love for you to go deeper into like the importance of self-improvement, not only as a man, but just as a person in general.
I think self-improvement is actually still so underrated, even though it's very popular. Because what people don't realize is self-improvement is life. Self-improvement's not just a concept that's been made up and is like kind of woo-woo. It's self-improvement is life. The point of life for a man is to self-improve. You're born as this thing with nothing, ready to be shaped into the best possible version of yourself and reality. And I love Harry Potter, and there's a concept in Harry Potter, there's a mirror that shows you your deepest desires and dreams, like essentially the ultimate version of yourself. It actually shows you your deepest desires, but for some people it's their ultimate version of themselves. And I always thought to myself, I'd hate to look in a mirror I'd love to look in a mirror and see what the ultimate version of me was. How far can I take it to see like, wow, that's Jack if he does everything right. If he turns up right, he makes all the right moves and he never quits. That's who I can be. And it's just this figure that you don't even recognize because it's such a hero. And also what scares me is to think that one day I might be, someone might show me the version of me I could have become and I never became it. That scares the shit out of me. To think, wow, that I could have lived as him and I didn't because I was scared or lazy or didn't do it. And I think self-improvement is just life as a man. I don't think you find fulfillment as a man without bettering yourself and without improving, or even if it's just in a very small way. Some people, that doesn't mean you have to become a millionaire. It doesn't mean you have to become something absolutely extraordinary. It just means you need to be better than you were yesterday, a little bit, and over the year, a bit better than you were last year, and till you die, and you'll find fulfillment in that.
Yeah. So what can you tell us about the major difference between whenever you first started, like before you even moved to Thailand, how you were treated based off of how you're treated now?
Oh, that's very interesting. That one's very interesting. You realize the shallowness of people's... You realize the shallowness of the game. Because I felt like this person, but I didn't get the respect, or I didn't get the admiration, or people didn't speak to me nicely, or women rejected me and things like that. But I always felt like this person. And so to everyone else, then you see like women are more interested, or people, they want to get to know you and they respect you and you're held in very high regard. You're not bullied or teased or anything like that anymore. And in your head, you kind of think, I'm still the same person inside. But because of my outside, you treat me differently. And you kind of realize just the shallowness of the game. But I don't mean it's shallow as in these people are wrong. We all do it. It's just the game. You just don't hate the game. You just learn to play it. And I didn't realize how simple it was. It's like if you become better looking and get more muscles and you make something of yourself and you learn how to speak and you do these things, like it actually makes a really big fucking difference to the way you experience life. And it becomes a lot more fun. Doors open up and opportunities open up. And when I was younger, I felt like I just deserved that without doing the work, because I felt it from my inner, but people don't see your inner.
100%.
You got to show them.
You meshed the 5D, and it ultimately became the 3D. Just like what we were talking about earlier. You were already operating at this level.
Yeah.
You weren't waiting on this. You were operating like this, even from the beginning. And slowly but surely, you got there, and you obviously have the results to prove it. And it's funny because a lot of men are wondering why life is so hard. And, you know, they want to give up and all these things. And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it 100%. I'm sure every person has been there. But instead of being a victim and feeling sorry for yourself, all you have to do is just become the person that conquers life and kills it at life and wins. So, Jack, that brings me to my next question, brother. If you were to lose it all, man, the fame, the influence, the money, the women, the physique, what would be the first move to achieve all that and some for you in today's day and age?
Absolutely. I think everybody loves a comeback story. Everybody loves a hero's journey. And if I kept my knowledge, I could get it back fast, because I've started to figure out a formula to certainly the content game and making money online with all of that I can teach now, which you were at a mastermind with me yesterday, which I now teach, I think, very well and understand incredibly well over the last 3 years. And so I have the skills. I would begin with my body if I lost my physique. That was always the start point. That's the start point for retraining the mind, for feeling good about yourself, and it's kind of your biggest outer indicator. We use a term, become unignorable, and that starts with the way that you look. So I would begin with the fighting, with the gym, getting in good shape. On my journey from that skinny guy, whoever I was at that point, if I lost everything, I would document the changes in who I am physically and who I am mentally, because you see a big physical transformation over that time, and when it's shown on camera, it becomes very powerful and inspires other people. So I'd begin with that, and I have no doubt, knowing what I know now, I would be able to create some virality, taking people through the pain and the hardship of that journey, and then position myself in a place to coach them on how to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. I believe in teaching what you've done for yourself, and the way you do that is by documenting what you've done for yourself to the point where at least a few people want to learn it from you. And that is how I would begin. I would head back to Thailand if I was starting again, purely for financial reasons. It's so cheap. So you can just go there and you can live so cheap. I'd never go back into a 9-to-5. I would go, if I was completely flat broke, I would be reaching out to influencers, content creators, anyone I know who runs a high ticket offer, and I would be doing sales on the phone, because I know I can close, and I would make commissions doing that. And then I've still got freedom of time to build my personal brand whilst also sharpening my skills. And I would build up my brand, and then I would create my own offer, and I would leave the sales job I was doing, create my own offer, and then double down on offer. So build a team, introduce webinars, and re-begin the rise of creating an inspiring story.
In case y'all didn't catch that, that's the blueprint right there.
That's the blueprint. That's the blueprint.
Oh yeah, something you mentioned, man. I want to reiterate it because it's extremely important in today's time. Like mentorship and investing into yourself. I would love for you to go deeper into that. Like how much money have you invested into yourself and your self growth for mentors and coaching and all?
I would say probably 6 figures over the last 3 years. 6 figures. If I find somebody that I really like or admire, I'd normally want to learn something from them. And it's so much easier to, if they're selling you that information, don't try and figure it out for yourself. Just, if you've got money available and you can, pay for it and learn it quick. Because the thing you learn will make you back the money you spent very quickly.
Times 10.
Times 10. And I've never really lost on buying mentorships, even if they weren't very good, for example. You normally still learn one thing that you can use. And on a long enough time frame, remember, you buy this thing once, but you keep the knowledge for the rest of your life. So the ROI is a very long thing. I'm still ROIing on the stories strategy I learned 3 or 4 years ago that I got for $99 how to do Instagram stories. And you can continue to use these things. I think being around a high caliber of person is an incredible gift. If you compare the difference to how your life goes, if you just go around somebody that knows everything and has already had success, and you spend time with someone who has not mastered their mind, loves excuses, and is a victim, one will ruin your life, one will completely change it. And most people don't understand that. Most people don't realize to get to the next level, they don't need to add more. They need to cut out what's holding them back. They need to cut out the things and the people that's holding them back. And the mentorship can start when you have no money by watching videos, by just listening and absorbing. That's spending time with someone. Anybody who's listening to this is spending time with me and you and absorbing our knowledge and the way we speak, which might be very different to the friends they normally spend time with. We might speak in a way that's inspiring to them and speak about things that we now believe is possible. But for them and their friends might make fun of them. They might think that's never possible. And that's very important. So I would do that. And I think as you level up, you find someone whose life you admire and you like the way that they do things, and then find a way to learn from them. I spent some time in the US this year and spent some time with 2 new elite guys, the Wiener Bros, awesome guys. They had us around the house in Scottsdale, Arizona as we were traveling through. We connected and we ended up staying with them for a month. We were meant to stay for a weekend and then we were going to drive through to LA. We were having such a good time, not just because we were buddies, but we were having such a good time because of what we were learning from each other. They were learning content from me, and I was learning some super high-level back-end business strategies that they were using in their business. And God, they completely changed the way I looked at the game. And I have to give credit to you Americans. Americans are savage, like actual savages. Like the American motivation, the American discipline, the American just want and encouragement to win is infectious and it's beautiful. I think part of the reason I ended up how I am now is because I spent 3 years in Boston from like 9 till 12 years old. Mm-hmm. I moved there with my mum and dad for my dad's job. And I experienced for the first time encouragement and the winning mentality from Americans at school. It was like, well done, buddy. It's awesome to win. Whereas in the UK, we have, unfortunately, a very pessimistic crabs in a bucket mentality a lot of the time. And a lot of the younger guys, especially guys on self-improvement, they're starting to break out of that. And they're starting to take in some of that American energy and support each other. And there's some great young guys coming out of the UK that are doing big things. But the majority, it's not like America. It's not cool to win in the UK. It was not cool to do school sports. It was not cool to be the best at sport in class, or the school didn't even go and watch high school sport.
Wow, that's incredible. Because, I mean, if you would have stayed in the UK, like I said earlier, the choices that you made to leave, I don't know if you would be the man that you are today.
100%.
And proximity is power at the end of the day. And obviously, your network equals your net worth.
It really is. I notice very heavily the impact that someone's energy has on me. I can see energy from people. I can judge character. I trust my gut instinct. And I can feel people's energy. And if I have bad energy around me, it can start to really drag me down and ruin my life. And most people, unfortunately, have to live with that. Yeah. Most people, because the 90% or even the 99% are not, they don't understand themselves. They don't understand how to be positive. They are angry with their own lives. They feel like a failure. They want for things they can never have. And if you start to feel, they start to feel like you're getting things and they don't understand how and they don't have the energy and motivation to do it, it kills them inside. Not because I don't think they're bad people, but it kills them just because they're sad. They're sad that they can't do it or they haven't done it and they feel lost and they don't know how to ask for help. And then you start to win and they will fucking pull you right back down. They will make sure of it. They'll sabotage your life. So that fresh start, and even the solo start, the monk mode solo start, which was kind of what mine was, the going out alone. It's good to let go of all the support that you have from, maybe you hang out with a buddy all the time. You love the guy. Your best buds. But at the end of the day, if you want to become your own man, you're going to have to go out on your own.
Yeah.
If you've gotten to a certain point where you are now with the best friend you've got, and he's not or she's not willing to change, or doesn't want to do these new things, then you got to head out on your own. And that doesn't mean you're not friends anymore. It just means you spend some time to build yourself. And what happens after that point is that you can lend a hand back down.
Of course.
You could say, I've figured some stuff out now, if you want to. And normally by that time they do want to, because they've seen your journey and
they see the results. That's the big thing.
And they felt the pain of staying where they are. And you lend a hand and you bring them up. But it can be difficult to start to make that big change that's needed if you're not on your own.
Yeah, actually, I did that myself. I was, after the Marine Corps, I moved back to my hometown.
Yeah.
Around the same people, same friends, and not a lot really changed. And I love my friends to death. I love my family to death. But no one was taking me to the next level that I needed to. So then I moved to California, to be surrounded by individuals such as Bedros Keuilian and all these things. And that was a big change for me. It was something that I needed to do. And of course, then just the few weeks ago, I was in Miami, sitting down with Vincent Fisher and just surrounding myself with individuals such as himself. And now here in Dubai with you. And it's a repeated pattern that I really want people to take down, because, you change your environment, change your proximity, and have the self-image and belief that you need in yourself, that you too can be in the rooms that you desire. You too can be that great person that you desire. And it all starts with, self-belief and action.
Yeah, you have to see that it's real as well.
Yeah.
I remember the first time, and I've done many now, but the first one I bought, like a course I joined in community, and I was inside and watching guys that were operating at a higher level than me, and I'd never known anything other than getting a 9-to-5 job, and the most money anyone had ever made that I knew was like $5,000 or $6,000 in a month, and that was a lot of money. If you were making that, you were a fucking king.
Hell yeah.
And I don't think I'd ever met a millionaire. I'd certainly not known if I had, and not asked them any decent questions. Certainly not spent any time with them. And I remember first joining a community and looking inside and genuinely seeing people's numbers and what they were doing and how they were doing it. And it blew my mind. I thought, this cannot be real. All my friends have ever said, and all the people around me have ever said, is all the online stuff is just a scam. And then I realized there's people doing great work, building great companies, doing amazing things, living lives they loved, making incredible money, and they weren't scamming people. They were giving a good product or service, and that was really inspiring to me. I thought, wow, if they can do it, and I'd see them and I'd think, we're not that different. You're further ahead than me, but we're not that different. I could do that as well. Mm-hmm. I could have those ideas as well if I just learned. And I'd spend nights. I would spend the whole night up. My calls were on Miami time, so I would call. I think it was like 3 a.m. UK time. I would stay on the phone until 4 or 5 in the morning. Then I would hop off, and I would see if anyone from the chat wanted to hop on a separate private call and have one-to-ones. And I would just ask people things, and I'd stay up all night. Once a week, I'd stay up all night, and then I'd go to sleep at like 6 or 7 in the morning after all these calls, all these ideas. Mm-hmm. And I tried loads of different things at the start. I tried loads of different Instagrams. Like I tried a crypto channel because I heard some guy was doing crypto, but that fizzled out pretty quick because I didn't know anything about crypto. Mm. And I even started one time a plant-based Instagram profile to eat vegan food because I watched that. Did you ever see that documentary? I can't remember what it was called, but there was this big anti-meat propaganda documentary that came out on Netflix, and it was very well put together.
Oh, yeah. I did. It really changed my belief on all that, but I still eat meat, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I watched that, and I got brainwashed by that. Okay. And so I went onto this vegan protocol for a while. This is whilst I was still working my job, and I was trying to figure things out. And I was on this vegan protocol, and I started a vegan chat, like a vegan Instagram, where I was making vegan meals and shit. I can't believe I'm saying this. That's so fucking embarrassing.
This man eats 4 eggs. No, sorry, 12 eggs a day, steaks.
Yeah, I've had 6 eggs today so far already. I'll probably have 10 or 12 by the end of the day. I eat steak pretty much exclusively. But I actually, this is just a massive tangent, but so I started playing around with different things. One of them was that, because I saw the plant-based communities taking off, and I thought, I'll try and figure that out. But you can't really do anything you're not actually inspired by, or you haven't done, or you don't actually like. It just doesn't work. Yeah. You don't have the authenticity to do it. So I tried those things, they didn't work. And I actually got quite sick from the vegan stuff. Really sick, actually. And not like autoimmune or anything like that, but just very badly ill. Very bad flu. I kept getting sick. I was weak. My skin started to go green. And then I was like, I stopped eating vegan and started putting meat and the things I was used to in my life back in again. And I started feeling healthy again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of bullshit, that whole vegan thing. That makes people really weak over time. The good thing that they've got with this kind of vegan diet is if somebody goes from eating McDonald's every day or KFC, and then they go onto a diet of strictly like vegetables, natural stuff, of course they're going to feel and look better. And not to mention they've had a massive cut in calories. Yeah. So to an early vegan that gives up fast food and a bad lifestyle and then goes on to a healthy vegan diet, they're going to have massive benefits to life. They're going to look way better. They're going to feel way better. What happens over time, though, is that person will then slowly become more and more weak and frail, and because they're not quite getting all the nutrients they need from their diet. And again, if they just decide to, vegan's kind of another marketing thing. It's like, if you eat a vegan candy bar, it's not fucking healthy. It's just vegan. Whereas people are like, it's vegan, it's healthy. It's like, it's still processed food. It's not good. Yeah. But I found that, the best diet to be steak, eggs, butter, rice, potatoes, some vegetables, plenty of water, vitamin C, vitamin D, And that's kind of, yeah, I don't even know where I've gone there. I've gone off on a
It's
massive
all good.
tangent.
I'm glad you mentioned that because my brother's actually vegan. So
Yeah.
I love my vegans out there. Pretty good food, but
Yeah.
me personally, I just couldn't do it.
No, I absolutely couldn't. I don't disagree with eating whole foods, though. That's a good idea. You should eat whole foods, fresh foods. You should eat some veg. It's not a bad idea, but yeah, I don't believe in vegan long term. I just think you get more power from the meat.
Yeah. So, Jack, just to go back on it, man. So we've gone over your origin, your struggles,
Yep.
the laws of the universe, how you would rebuild it all, man. So I would love for you to give us a glimpse into the life of Jack Hopkins, the life of a winner. What's it like operating at this level with mindset, fitness, money, and women?
You have to learn to handle pressure. You have to learn to not let pretty much anything affect you mentally. If you give away your limited amount of fucks per day that you get to give on the stupid things, you have none left to give on the things that matter. And you have to, over time, build your mind to not be bothered, because that's what stops high-level operation. It's like you're a computer and you don't have enough cooling fans and you overheat. When you begin in the game, everything's so stressful to you because you've not had so much pain or so much experience that you very quickly overheat. You become overwhelmed, and that's what stops you. But the overwhelm is all mental. The ability for the body and the mind to continue to do things and build its resistance is very close to kind of infinite. We're far, far more powerful than we could ever imagine. So for me, the management of my mind has been the biggest breakthrough I've had recently, because my life is double stressful now because I've just taken on a professional fight. So I've now got 11 times training per week, where I would normally train 5 to 7 times, which is already a lot. That's already pretty much every day.
100%.
Now you're training twice a day, and you've got morning, afternoon. And you have to now try and run a team, handle business, make content when you're tired, when you're hurt, when you are stressed about something else. But what you have to do is you breathe and you think for a second and you smile and you're positive and you go, is this going to kill me? No. Is it hard? Yes. But do I like hard? Yes. Does hard make me better? Yes. If I do hard things a lot, will it get easier? Yes. And you think that, you stop thinking so much, you stop putting yourself through turmoil, and you just go and do. So I try and just do my days now rather than think about them. I've got a video to film tonight, a long-form YouTube video. Sometimes I'd get stressed having to think of an idea. Today I was just like, pick an idea, I've already chosen it. I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go home, I'm going to sit down, I'm not going to think, I'm going to film it, I'm going to give it to Max, he's going to edit it, put it out. I'm going to get ready for my fight camp and get my stuff out ready for tomorrow. Then I'm going to go. I'm going to turn up. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to get home after my morning session. I'm going to eat some food. I'm going to sit down, maybe have a coffee, refocus, and I'm going to sit down and do my 1 or 2 hours of work. Then I'm going to pick my head up, maybe have a rest, maybe do some phone calls, things like that. Then I'm going to be back for my session in the evening. And I'm not going to think, I'm not going to get stressed about it. I'm just going to do it. And that's what high-level operation looks like. Knowing what you do every day, having a power list. I really like the power list protocol, just on your Apple Notes every night before you go to sleep. You should really dial in what the key tasks are that actually move the needle. I have 3 non-negotiables usually per day, which are aligned with my training and nutrition, just things that are like absolutely non-negotiable. You have to get these in. And then my 3 like move the needle tasks to get through. And if I complete those, at the end of the day, I feel a sense of self-worth and confidence that builds over time. That's a very simple trick that most people wake up in the morning and they feel like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing today. You waste the first 2 hours. You got to wake up with some purpose.
Of course.
If you're out of shape, wake up with some purpose, get straight to the gym. When you come back, you know, okay, I've got to read 10 pages of a book because I need to develop my mind. And then I'm going to work on some sales calls, or I'm going to reach out to some companies for a job, or I'm going to do this. If you do that over a year, man, you get a lot of stuff done. Yeah. And you really become kind of a new person through doing that.
I feel like a lot of people get misconceptualized about success and having the freedom that you do have. But in our reality, I mean, I would love for you to tell us about the amount of work that you have to put in, the mundane type of days. I mean, I remember we were talking at dinner, you don't even go out anymore.
No.
I would love for you to go deeper into that.
Well, I think, and I've had the privilege of living a complete freedom lifestyle. And this is very interesting. I've had the privilege of taking long vacations and waking up when I want and doing what I want and heading down the mall and spending money and taking girls out and going on dinners. I've done it for a long time. I've traveled around the world. It's been amazing. Very, very fun. But I actually realized that I love the feeling of getting into bed after a hard day's work, and that the freedom isn't so freeing. Discipline equals freedom. It's a great book by Jocko Willink. It's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. You become free through your control of yourself. Most people don't know how to manage themselves. They get freedom and then they self-destruct because they don't know how to manage themselves, and it's very easy to do. For me to manage that self-destruction, which I'm kind of naturally drawn towards doing if I'm not occupied, it's like I make my life difficult again, even if it doesn't have to be. I set new goals and make life as difficult as possible to feel like I'm still kind of the underdog, to feel like I'm kind of still starting, to not rest on my laurels, to not develop a big ego. I bring it all down. Mm-hmm. And then I get into bed after a hard day's work, and it brings us together. You know the boys, Bill and Max, both work with me in the house, and it brings us together like nothing else. We normally, if we go on a sort of period of freedom, alcohol, hanging out, we have a good time, but we sometimes end up arguing or not getting on as well. When we have this driven goal that we're completing together, and we sit down the sofa after a long day where we barely made it for our work and we're thinking we're exhausted, we feel good and we get on well and we kind of encourage each other, and everyone's becoming stronger and feeling better, and everything just takes off in life. So the life when you've I think if you don't have this discipline, this structure, and you see it with movie stars, you see it with rock stars, you see it with NBA stars or people in the high levels in sports, you see it with Conor McGregor. If you lose the discipline, everything goes mentally. You lose all of your feeling of confidence mentally, and it's that you wanted to keep in the first place. One of my favorite examples, and a lot of people don't like Floyd Mayweather, but Floyd Mayweather is an absolute machine because he amassed the money. And yes, he went a little bit crazy and very obviously flamboyant and spent a lot of money and loved his luxury. But the thing that Mayweather kept that no one else really manages to keep after money is he kept his discipline and his love for his craft. And I really admire that. I really admire that kind of thing. You've got Donald Trump as well as another guy who's played at the top level for many, many years and is now President of the United States. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how old Donald Trump is, but must be 70s.
I want to say he's the 70s, yeah. I'm not even sure.
In his 70s, now President of the United States. Yeah. So after all that he's achieved, becoming a billionaire, and that, he's never really, I don't believe, drank alcohol, maybe 1 or 2 times, but he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, doesn't smoke. And I really admire those stories that this guy has everything. Floyd Mayweather used to go to the club and then used to run home. Used to go out and party in Vegas, drink water, and then in his jeans or whatever he was out in, he would jog home. He'd get his road work in. He'd always be in the gym. And love him or hate him, Floyd Mayweather become a master of his craft. And I think that's very admirable. And that's how I've decided I would like to live. Mm-hmm. Wherever I stick to it is seen to be told, whether I stick to it, because I'm also a very good partier as well. But I'm just going to play it up until this fight on the 3rd of December, and that's my kind of lock until then. And I'm trying to enjoy it in a way that I would be able to see myself living this way, rather than just having it as a camp, take another fight after, and live this way, to stay disciplined and proud of myself.
Of course, and this is a common trend I keep seeing, man. I would love for you to tell the audience how old you are.
26.
26.
Yeah.
26 years old, operating at this type of level. And I want to point something out that's extremely important. Goals. You said that you don't want to reach that goal. You want to keep building up the next goal so that you can keep feeling like the underdog.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once we hit the goal, it's like, oh, now what? You always have to have a goal in front of you. I always say, I tell my clients, like, as a man, you need to have a mission in front of you, because a man without a mission is lost. So once you achieve that mission, or, mission accomplished, you got to find the next thing. You got to get the next goal.
I totally agree with you, Raf. I think truer words have never been spoken. Without a mission, the mission becomes chasing fulfillment in places that you can't find it for most people. Mm-hmm. People that don't have anything really to live for in regards to just something that excites them or scares them that they feel good for going after. They find the excitement in women, and that's not necessarily bad, but let's say prostitutes, clubs, bottles, they get the adrenaline of popping a bottle in the club and feeling some temporary status and admiration, and they feel that and they get addicted to that, but it's never full. It always needs more, which is why people end up going crazy with that until they have nothing. And then you realize even the smallest work on yourself, an improvement from yesterday, fills you more than that fake status ever could.
Yeah, Jack. Just a couple more questions for you, man. So you've conquered nations, man. You've achieved a lot of goals that you've set out to. I want to know, and I'm sure the audience does too, what is next for Jack Hopkins?
What is next for me? I'm getting to a point, and I had a conversation with, you probably know a guy, John Mark Stevenson.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, shout out John, awesome guy. He's not in New Elite. I think he's going to come skiing with us though. But me and John's watched my channel for a while. He's 21. He's doing big money in the US in the coaching space. And we have calls. We had one call actually. We've met each other before. We had one call the other day, and John was talking about his program and what he's doing with fitness coaches. And he said, what's important as a coach is we build and understand a system that is fail-safe for whoever we teach it to, that it doesn't rely on a single piece of luck. And that really hit home with me. And I was like, our program's great, we get good results, but what if we took it all out? Any element of luck. That if somebody just showed up and did these steps with social media, followed this plan for whatever they want to make it about and put their character into it, that it works successfully every time, and an idiot could do it. I could give it to my not that they're idiots, but I could give it to my mum and dad. They're not geniuses of social media either, but I could give it to my mum and dad and build them a personal brand about something, and it would make them at least $10,000 a month. And John said that to me, and I started to become obsessed with it. And I thought, I need to understand everything about the business that I'm in and how it works. And I need to learn it, master it, teach it over and over again, constantly refining that vision. And you kind of got the version 1.0 of that yesterday, which I think is my most advanced version of what I'm doing. So that's become a big goal of mine. Is we've been doing this 3 years. Let's become the greatest. Let's become the best network for entrepreneurs to get together with that over delivers. Let's become the best program to teach personal brand in the world. And let's focus on that for our business, because it will be amazing and it's fulfilling. And then for me, I need something exciting, even more exciting than that. And for me, that is either chasing women, which I don't want to do. So I've chosen boxing instead.
There you go.
And so boxing and fighting and combat for me has always been something that scares me. It makes me nervous. It makes me become a better version of myself. It makes me confront my inner demons. It makes me look in the mirror and realize that there's no hiding, that you cannot have an ego, that you will be shown who you are on the day. And it scares the shit out of me enough to keep me straight on the straight and narrow. And it's very exciting as well. And so that's what's next for me. Is I've always said I wanted to do 10 fights. I've got one pro fight on my record so far, which is a loss. We need to avenge that loss. We need to get 10 wins. And
so you can show your future son, right?
So I can show my future son, which I was telling you at dinner last night. Yeah. I want to be able to, I think 10 is a good number for professional fights. And to be able to show him and say, look, your father is done. He's done combat. I understand it, and I think you should too. And rather than be someone that tells something that they haven't done, which is a little bit hypocritical. So yeah, not that I've got a son on the way or anything, which you asked me yesterday, because it's just my imagination in my head. Course. But that's sort of my goals now. My goals are very much, they're input based. They're not outcome based. They're not money based, really. The money is just a byproduct of being the best, really. Of turning up, and I've got goals for how much content I want to put out. I've got goals for how I want to deliver my service and improve my product. And I've got goals for how I want to train for fighting. The results of all of those things I'll leave to the universe and just enjoy my day to day.
Yeah, I love that, brother. I have no doubt that you'll accomplish all that.
Thank you, my man.
Speaking of kids, this is my last final question, man. This is also my personal favorite question that I love to ask my guest. One day, your future bloodline may watch this episode, man. I would love for you to know, I would love to know, and I'm sure the audience would too, what would you have to say to your future bloodline watching this episode?
My future son or daughter.
Just grandchildren, future bloodline in general.
Future bloodline in general. I hope I've lived in a way that is inspiring to you, and I'm going to teach you as you grow up. I'm going to teach you why not to do certain things rather than just tell you not to do them. I'm going to teach you why and let you make the choice. I'm going to tell you, if you're my son, that this is, and I'll maybe even experience it with you. I'll say, this is what happens when you drink alcohol. Now, how do you feel today? You feel bad, don't you? It's not just your body, it's your mind. Exactly. That's why we don't drink. You can if you want to, but this is what's going to happen. And this is how great you can be if you do this. And I hope to be a leader that can show you that you look at your father and you admire him. And I push you to manage your emotions and your mind and build the strongest physical and mental version of yourself. And one day then you will beat me and you will be stronger than me and you will have earned it and you'll feel good about yourself and you'll have underlying confidence. That's what I would like to say. Go forth and conquer, never give up.
Incredible. Well,
That's it.
brother, it's been an honor.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on. And I just want to point out, like, you were a man that followed your calling and purpose, and that's truly admirable. And to everyone watching, this is the Portal Podcast, and this is where legends are born.
Go get 'em, Tigers.